Hello, hi, welcome back. My name's Claire, this is Peachy Keen Pans. It has been quite a while since I updated any of my projects. Things have been a little bit busy, so I just thought, yeah, I ended up skipping my July update. This is now the beginning of August update, so I've had 2 months of working on my two focus palettes, which are my Tickled Peach and my Sweet Peach Glow. So this will be an update for my Pan Those Peaches, and basically I have been using definitely the face palette quite a lot. I have also been using it on the eyes. I did use it on the eyes today, just that blush in the outer corner a little bit. And the eyeshadow palette I've been using a little bit less because I haven't always had time in the mornings or haven't like prioritized getting to doing my eyeshadow. But I will say, like, I think I've made really good progress on the face palette, especially on one of the products. You'll see which. It's like dramatically obvious which one is getting the most use. The eyeshadows, a little bit of progress, like it is visible now, so that's, you know, kind of satisfying, but still a fair ways to go. But yeah, I'll give you the numbers. I'll give the numbers first. So basically I've been tracking here. I have June, July and August. So I'm not going to include the August numbers, although because now it's like a few days into August, I will omit these and just go by these numbers for this update. So starting with the face palette, I used the highlighter 31 times across June and July, so 15 times in June and 16 times in July. I used the blush 26 times, so 14 times in June and 12 times in July. And I used the bronzer a total of 30 times. So that was 17 times in June and 13 times in July. So yeah, honestly, I think pretty good usage, like not bad at least. And I haven't cleaned up the palette, so it's definitely like a bit of a mess around each pan. But basically, this is where we're up to now. So as you can see, the bronzer is like by far the most showing pan now. Like I think with that much of the waffle grid showing, I would say I have like hit pan, even though technically I haven't gotten all the way down to the bottom of the pan. I feel like this is that intermediary kind of step. This one is definitely flattening out and getting a little bit of a dip from the side, although basically because it was raised to start with, it's just flattened that out and then become like the tiniest bit of a dip. The highlighter doesn't show a lot of progress, and I think because it's kind of the hardest product in here, as in physically firm. And yeah, I also just don't use a lot of highlighter. I use a little. I don't like it to look too like obvious, whereas I don't really mind the others being obvious. I don't mind an obvious blush. So yeah, I'll give you a bit of a close-up. Hopefully that will show you kind of how they're looking. But yeah, I am happy with the progress that I've made, and I'm still like, I'm not feeling sick of it by any means. I think it's been a really easy palette to work with. Like, although the bronzer is very warm, and I am wearing it kind of across the temples and sides of my face at the moment, I don't think it's so warm that it looks, I don't know, out of place or anything like that on my skin tone. The blush is a very easy kind of sort of natural looking color for me. The highlight is probably a tad darker than what actually would be a naturally illuminated look for me. So I do have a different Too Faced highlighter that, like, yeah, probably suits me a bit better. And I think my kind of thoughts in terms of 2 months of progress now is that with with my progress, I think I would be happy to finish the bronzer, and then wherever I'm at with the blush, once the bronzer is finished, I might repot move the blush to be somewhere else. And I think I would be quite happy to just declutter the highlighter at whatever stage of use it's at once the bronzer is finished. So yeah, that's kind of the direction I'm going with it. Now, for the eyeshadow palette, yeah, I'll show you how it's going and then I'll run through the uses. So hopefully you can see a bit of a difference in well, really in each of the shadows that already had pan, the pan has expanded a little bit. So basically, the pan here has grown a bit, this one has grown a little, this one has grown a little. I think this one looks probably the same, but it's much flatter. So where I had used a brush to kind of create an inner corner highlight, or, you know, sort of spotlight effect, I've now been using my finger, and that means that it's sort of flattened out, even though the pan itself doesn't look that much bigger. So yeah, that's pretty much how this one is going. I think it's like slow and steady for this palette, and yeah, there's a little bit of a dip also showing up in this shade, which I'm happy about. And I have been combining it with that paler shade as well. I am finding, like, unsurprisingly, that the shadows are quite, well, the shimmers are quite lackluster compared to all of these indie shadows that I have, you know, amassed, collected over the years. So, yeah, I mean, it's Too Faced. So obviously I'm not expecting an incredibly punchy, sparkly payoff, but it is really noticeable where I'm like, it makes me want an indie version of this, like a more interesting, more metallic or sparkly, or like a more obvious duochrome version of this type of a shade, which is a more finely milled, you know, it is metallic, but it's sort of like maybe on the more satin end of things. But yeah, I basically, in terms of uses, I will run through one by one. So the bone colored matte setting shade, for me it's the setting shade, I used a total of 14 times. So 7 times in June, 7 times in July. I only used this green once. This is a green from Femme Fatale Cosmetics that I pressed into this palette, and I only used it once. It is like a weird shade, and it's also very much a satin. It's not really a shimmer. So again, it's not totally aligned with my preferences, but I still kind of do like the pop of green in this palette. This next shade along I've used twice. I did think I'd used it more than that, but I've used this twice, okay. This one I've used a total of 4 times. So I should have said, sorry, this one was once in June, once in July. This was 4 times in June. I did not use it at all in July. And then going down the bottom row, we've got, I'm just not sure where I am on camera at the moment, so maybe I'll hold it over here. For the bottom row, we have, this one was 9 uses in June and 4 in July, so a total of 13. This shade I used twice in June and twice in July, so a total of 4. This one was 5 times in June, 3 times in July, so 8 in total. And this one I used 4 times in June and once in July, so 5 times in total. And so the uses are like, the usage is not super high, which is why the pans are not super impressive. However, like, I think in the coming weeks I will be able to increase that a bit. I think part of what's been stopping me has been that it's been very dark in the mornings here because it's winter time, and, you know, coming into spring, almost coming into spring, it's definitely getting a little bit lighter in the morning, so I'm more able to kind of wake up quickly, actually sit down and do my makeup properly instead of kind of rushing through. So yeah, I mean, I'm hopeful that my progress will continue. I was just thinking if I should have specific goals for the next check-in. I would like to get more of a dip in this shade, so at least a fair few more uses. I think I expect I'll be able to finish this shadow like by the end of the year, which would be the first shadow I've ever finished. I've never actually done that, or like, I could have maybe with other bone kind of setting shades. That seems to be the one that, at least for paler people, is like the easiest thing to finish. But I've never decided to do that with a shadow, like to focus exclusively on it. I think this one I'll probably finish. I actually might start using this as a highlight. It may work slightly better on me than the highlight in the face palette, to be honest. And then this one I used with a brush, which is why the pan expanded a bit, and I ended up using it in my crease just for a really kind of quick one and done look, which was fine. I need to start using this on my moles slash beauty marks. These I kind of, the 3 on my nose and the 1 under my eye, I do tend to go in after I've put on a base product and just like reapply color. I've been using a freckle pen for that, but I think this would work as well as long as I go in very lightly. Um, so yeah, I might try and increase use on that by doing that. And I do think I want to hit pan on this. I mean, this is a shadow that I pressed in myself, so I also know once I hit pan, it's probably going to be really crumbly and not like the most structurally sound. However, I do want to hit pan on it just for satisfaction purposes. So I will try with this one. I think we'll get there by next month, I reckon. Anyway, but yeah, I'm still enjoying the project. I'm having like, yeah, occasional musings about what I want to do to focus on next year. I feel like I'm always kind of thinking a step ahead, being like, but what's the next project? So I kind of do want to do maybe another Pan That palette next year. I'm not sure what yet. I don't know. Anyway, I also need to film an eyeshadow collection video. I will get around to that. I do want to be posting a bit more regularly because it is really fun to film and yeah, just, you know, have that space to talk about makeup because it is on my mind so much of the time. So it's nice to have an outlet. And I hope that that was, yeah, a fun update for you guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.